Powered by Rev Media and in partnership with TSN, it is Season 5, Episode 1 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. And I kind of chuckle, Ray, when I introduce Episode 1, Season 5 of the Ray and Dregs Podcast, because as our promo indicated in the last couple of days, I mean, honest to God, man, we didn't know we were going to go 10 episodes into this, but here we are, launching in Season 5 and looking forward to another good year.
Yeah, the few changes this year, but for 5 years, of course, unless you have people listening, unless you have people engaged in what we talk about, whether it be news or nonsense, doesn't happen unless they listen. So it's pretty awesome, and thank you for listening. We'll try and fill up the podcast with some good stuff this year.
Couple of great sponsors. Canadian Club Whiskey, stays with us through thick and thin. Tim Hortons, we're thrilled to welcome Tim Hortons to the podcast. And among the many things Tim Hortons will be involved with on Ray and Dregs is headlines. In each episode, we dive into the NHL's top stories. And we'll do that momentarily, Ray. But we always like to, podcast to podcast, we look back on our life experiences and things that we did that week. In this case, in Episode 1, we've got several weeks, if not months, to pour over here. We're not going to take up too much time, but look, Cammy, the Vancouver Canucks, is busy. Riley and Reese, they're busy. They've got soccer, they've got school, they got everything going on. You're getting ready for another season of NHL travel and everything else. So there's a shaving story that you wanted to tell that I think most people in busy families, again, they're gonna chuckle with us, but they're gonna go, yeah, I kind of get it. Yeah, that happens in my house too.
Okay, well, I'll say this, Dregs. When your wife goes and gets her hair done, if you don't comment on it, how's that work for you?
Not well. No.
Yeah, not well. Every married man knows this. And I got to say, there are times I slip and it takes me a day or two to really notice. So this morning I finished my workout and I'm like, the hell with it, I'm going to shave my beard off. I don't even know when the last time I shaved it off.
I was going to say, are we talking about like a couple of weeks of stubble here, or we're talking about beard? You got
my
beard.
regular beard that I have had for a few years. So I shave it off. I get upstairs, from working out, and I do the morning routine for the kids going to school, and Cammy comes down, and Reese, our 13-year-old, they're there. They were there for like 40 minutes. And so finally they're getting ready to go to school, and I go, hey, look at me. And they look at me and they're like, what? And I go, no, look at me. And Cammy goes like, is my hair screwed up? And I'm like, no, this isn't about you. And Reese is like, oh, hey, your face. Good to know. And so I said to him, son, this is what 20 years of marriage will get you right here.
So is there an annoyance building or a slow burn, or you were just, come on, like they got to pay attention?
No, I was actually amused. I actually thought maybe I should let it go until the end of the day and see if anybody gets it. Or if anybody cares, I think is really and so that's, and so I was like, no, thanks, Cam. Good to see you too. Because she's been away at camp for a week too. So,
right.
Didn't quite register though.
You had a good off season though, didn't you? You get in the family. Yeah.
We had a great off season. Some big changes. My oldest son, Matt, and his wife and kids have moved from Vancouver up to Trail where we're from. And they've bought a home and building the next phase of their life there. But they moved out of the house and into the suite that we have. And Landon just retired in Germany, and he came back a week later. We got it painted and he moved in. So him and his wife, Emily, are expecting a baby in December. So we're super pumped for that. And the summer was going great. And we wrapped it up. We saw Coldplay on Friday. And I'm telling you, if people get a chance to see them, there is something about them and their performance. Yeah. We were at BC Place, 49,000 people there 2 nights in a row. And it was amazing. It was just, what a great show.
Good for you. We had a typical off season. Yeah, cabbage was good. It was too busy again, right? I think at one point we had like in the 40s, let's say 40 people come through in 50 days. Well, you can imagine what that is like. It's chaos, right? And I'm sure that there'll be stories that percolate, come to me over, the episodes moving forward here in season 5. There's a broccolini story, which I'll share another day. I guess the one that stands out the most was there was a weird number of bears, black bears, around the cabbage this year. Like, I had several encounters, none that were super close. And normally they look at you, you look at them, and they run off into the bush, and away you go. So Holly and I are painting. We're staying the stairs going down to the second tier towards the lake. And there's a tree right at the bottom of the stairs. Holly's doing I'm doing the runs. She's doing the sides, whatever they're called, right? So she's got her back to the lake. And I run, I walk up the 6 steps to the top to grab some extra stain or whatever. I look down. There's a black bear sitting beside the tree and 10 feet from Holly. Like, just sitting there. And I'm like, now what do I, like instantly I'm like, so I can't say exactly what I said, but I kind of loud whisper, it's one of those where, Holly, get in the cabin. And she looks up, she thinks it's like a garter snake or something. Right? So she comes up the stairs. I'm like, there's a beep, 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 beep bear. And so, and meanwhile, Tiny the Great Dane is just sitting there sleeping, oblivious to everything else.
Oh, good to know he's looking out for you. Eh?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess the good part of the story is Holly didn't get eaten. But if this bear had wanted to, I mean, she was lunch. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So anyway, that was the point of excitement at the cabbage. And then things kind of settled down. Lots of news going on around the NHL as we leap into another season. And we're going to backtrack a little bit here because it is episode 1. And people want to hear your opinion on some of the stuff that's already gone down. So again, we welcome Tim Hortons to the podcast, our sponsor for headlines. Hey, Canada, Tim's NHL trading cards are back with an all-new set. So get ready to unpack the thrill and score your favorite hockey stars. Grab them before they're gone. Starting October 2nd, only at Tim's. Mike Babcock resigns as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets amid a cell phone scandal. I've kind of sensationalized it by calling it a cell phone scandal. But, I mean, even in a world of pro sport where, Ray, we shouldn't be surprised by much, did this not take you by complete surprise? I mean, I tweeted when Babcock got hired by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and my timeline was filled with all the naysayers and the people saying, this is ridiculous. What are they doing? All of that. I mean, I guess you could conclude with any coaching job in any sport, it's probably not going to end well. You could not, no one could predict it was going to go sideways this quick with Babs and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Well, it didn't even start. And so that would be where the surprise would be. I mean, as the story unfolded, like, it just made no sense. Like, why, if you're my coach and you want to get to know me and we have lunch and you say, hey, what do you want to do? And I say, or what do you do in the summer? And I say, I like to play golf. And he's like, oh, where'd you play? And I tell you 43 golf stories. What do you need to see any pictures for? Unless I feel like showing you a picture when I was at Bandon Dunes.
Yeah.
Like it makes no sense there's got to be a bubble of privacy that each person, not player, person has. And
it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or a raw rookie. It doesn't matter.
But to intrude into it is really kind of remarkable. Here's the thing. I know, some guys that, including my son who were young guys and then retired as older guys. And I said, so if you're a veteran guy and he asked to look in your phone, like, what would you think? And you go, and to a man, they said, I think it would be weird. And I'd probably say, no. But they weren't really too bothered. I said, what if you were 20 or 22? Said, for sure, I'm showing him my phone. And that's where it really gets off the rails.
Where does that come from, though, Ray? Is it just
it's
the essence
insecurity?
Of power?
Yeah. Oh, yes, 100%. It's insecurity. It's like, man, I want the coach to like me because I want to play. I want a chance. The crazy part is Mike should have had his own focus group to ask. He's got kids in their 20s.
Yeah.
Like how did that even happen? What was even the thought of it? And then when you go a step further, looking back at it, to think that 60-year-olds are going to understand 20-year-olds is probably it's probably a bad premise to start with.
Yeah.
And so it was shocking and embarrassing, and it really, quite frankly, should have been embarrassing for Mike. And I mean, that's, I think it goes without saying, that's it. You're not going to get another opportunity. And for Columbus, I don't know if those players would have been too upset, quite frankly, because I can't imagine they were jumping up and down when he got hired. And now they play for Pascal Vincent, who is, by all accounts, a terrific coach.
He really is. Yeah.
And a long history of being a terrific coach. And man, he's got to get up to speed in a hurry and get his ideas in a hurry. And, things will have a little bit of a breath of fresh air, I think.
Yeah. And Pascal brings some experience, okay? Like it's not NHL head coaching experience, but he brings NHL experience and he brings pro hockey head coaching experience. And they've just hired Mark Recchi, has been announced by the Blue Jackets, as an assistant coach as well. So it does feel like as significant, as mammoth a misstep as this was by Jarmo Kekalainen and the Columbus Blue Jackets, maybe it'll shape together, and maybe in the long run, this will be one of the better things that happens to this team moving forward. But oof,
you know what really needs to happen there? I think, and I don't really have any knowledge of the upper echelon of that management, but I know Rick Nash is involved a little bit.
Yeah.
Rick Nash needs to be front and center.
Yeah.
He really does. I don't know if his family situation allows him to be.
Oh, I think he wants to be. Yeah,
well,
I think
he needs to be, because Rick Nash brings a positivity, a newness, somebody that really connects with some really patient fans in Columbus.
Yeah.
And to me, that needs to be the next step of however they get to that. But I think Rick needs to be, and I don't know Rick Nash. I just know of him, and I know of the way he has been respected throughout his career and post-career. He needs to be front and center there.
And I definitely think he's got an appetite for that in hockey operations. So we'll see how that evolves over time. The Ottawa Senators making big news. Man, it feels like forever they've been making news, but this is positive stuff. Michael Andlauer comes in now, along with a series of minority investors and ownership groups to help him buy the Ottawa Senators. So they finally closed the book on that. And he couldn't be happier. And this just feels like the right time and the right thing for that organization. And there's going to be ongoing talk. Okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to move? Are they going to build something downtown? All that doesn't matter. What matters now is those players are going to be treated like NHL players need to be treated on a consistent basis, right? Both at the NHL level and at the American Hockey League level, because they've got a player's owner, as he describes himself, somebody who legitimately cares, and he's not going to be absent. He's going to be there all the time. But with that comes accountability and expectation, right? So this looks like a good team. They've got a favorable schedule, lots of home games right out of the gate. They stumble, then we're having a different conversation on the Ray and Dregs podcast, and rightly so. Yeah. We're looking at Dorian, we're looking at DJ, and we're looking at some of the other things. So it's nice to have that ownership chapter put to bed.
It is, and it's been a long time coming, and in a lot of different ways, it seemed like the team was going to be sold, then it wasn't, then it might have been, and and that's gone on for quite some time. I'll say from a player's standpoint, in Hartford, the team was sold when I was there. And in the interim, when nobody really knew who was taking over, it went for shite. It really did. Yeah. Because if there's no clear leader, there's no leader. And that's pretty much what was going on. And so in Ottawa, there was certainly some of that going on. The one thing now is that you can't hide behind the chaos anymore.
No,
because there is none. And this is a team that is on the cusp of being a playoff team for a number of years because of the age of their core,
right?
The ability of their core, and now they'll feel the heat a little bit, those young guys, because it's not all going to go great for them, and they'll be up and down like there is for everybody else. But man, they got a lot of good players there, and the questions of resource and finance will disappear. They'll be able to spend more on player development, on recovery, on travel, like whatever it might be. There'll be less questions to be asked, and also, like, I just thought in his opening remarks, I guess you'd call it, I thought he just hit every note he needed to hit. I thought it was a really strong open for him. And now the players got to go play. Yeah, and the players now just got to go play. And they will, because they're good.
They are good. And we're going to find out how good and whether they're ready to take the next step. And that all comes in playing the games. Normally, and it's become tradition in the salary cap era, when you get to training camp, you're clearly going to have the contract stories. Every team has them. And whether you have players who are going into the final year of their contract, coaches, managers, it doesn't matter. They can either be, big news or they can be sidebars, but they're part of the discussion and what the media is after. What I didn't expect, Ray, and producer Zuby here is going to tee up Steven Stamkos' soundbite. What I didn't expect last week was Stamkos, captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, addressing the media for the first time and openly talking about how disappointed he is that he and his contract and his future with the Tampa Bay Lightning wasn't more seriously or urgently addressed.
To be honest, I've been disappointed in the lack of talk in that regard. So it was something that I expressed at the end of last year that I wanted to get something done before training camp started. There haven't been any conversations. So,
are you willing to talk during the season or wait till after the season now?
I'm ready whenever. So I guess that was something that I didn't see coming, but it is what it is.
Yeah, there he is, Steven Stamkos, captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he didn't say anything jarring or that is going to piss a bunch of people off. But here's a decorated leader in the National Hockey League, and for him to come right opening camp and say, I thought this was going to go differently. We just talked about Ottawa ownership. I got to believe that Tampa Bay Lightning ownership is probably got Julian Breezeball on line one as soon as he heard the sound bites and going, where are we here? What is going on? Why did he come out the way he did?
Well, there's a couple of reasons he comes out the way he did. And first of all, that's a confident player. Like, Stamkos, like, he knows his status with that organization. He feels where he is among the best players in the league. And he probably looks around his team and sees Brandon Hagel and Tanner Jeannot signing 7-year contracts. And he's like, over here, you might want to think about it. So if I were him, I'd be pissed off too. I'd want to know why. And somewhere in there, he said, I can't negotiate my contract with myself. And I was quite surprised. I mean, there's big stories around the league that are, important in different markets. William Nylander in Toronto and Trevor Zegras in Anaheim are two that pop, to my head right away. But this really feels significant. And for a franchise that doesn't make many missteps, I'm not saying I guess I am saying it's a misstep. It's a misstep in there hasn't like been. There's a misstep, Dregs, that there hasn't been communication about what the path looks like.
Yeah.
Because there's going to come a time, if it hasn't already, where the Stamkos camp says, okay, what is the path? I need to know.
Right. All right. So from one proven winner to another, and we'll wrap up the Tim Hortons headlines with this. Patrick Kane is rehabbing near Toronto following his hip surgery this summer. So he spent the summer rehabbing and working with doctors in the GTA. It sounds like he feels good, right? I mean, you can see he was laboring, right? I mean, he tried to play through it.
He couldn't move. When he went to the Rangers, it was really quite surprising to see. I did their playoffs, and it was surprising to see that he's never been a speed burner, but he didn't have that turn and pivot and dart into open space. It just wasn't there.
No. So let's just hope, again, for the sake of the entertainment side of hockey, because he still has game left in him, that he's able to come back. And we believe that he is. So because he's training in the GTA or recovering in the GTA, I mean, obviously there's been lots of Toronto Maple Leafs rumors, how they make that work. And people don't quite understand the collective bargaining agreement. He's not 35. He's 34. He turns 35 in November, but that doesn't apply to next year, meaning that every dollar that he earns, if he signs a 1-year contract, that's going up against the salary cap. If he signs a 1-year deal as a 35-year-old, well, there's bonuses that can be applied in that it gets a little bit more flexible from a team perspective. But Buffalo wants him. Brother-in-law Donnie Granato would like to reunite with Patrick Kane. So would Kevin Adams. Good relationships there. But honestly, if healthy, and we believe he will be, won't he draw tons of interest, Ray, across the league, not just Buffalo, Toronto, and maybe a couple of others?
Oh, I can't imagine that anybody that's a good team wouldn't be super interested in checking in on his health, what his skating is like, because he didn't lose his hands over the summer. He didn't have, that didn't happen. So if you're a good team, of course you're going to check in.
Yes.
And you might get told pretty quickly, no, I'm not interested in going there or here, and maybe he wants to stay. Maybe he wants to go to Buffalo. Buffalo needs another offensive forward, like another foot. I mean, like, man, those guys can score. And to think of him, like, could you imagine him setting up on that right hash mark, and you've got Tage Thompson scratching the top of the building with his one-timer on the other side? You can see where it could fit. So Buffalo would be a team I would think of for sure. But man, I think of teams that are right there that would be really interested. Now, some of it will depend on what their cap spot is in the time that he's ready to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some unknown to it once he gets himself healthy enough to be able to sign.
Those are your headlines. Thanks to Tim Hortons. And a reminder, Tim's NHL trading cards are back with an all new set. So grab them before they're gone, starting October 2nd. Our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to us by Canadian Club Whiskey, introducing the first release of the Canadian Club Invitation Series, CC 15-year-old Sherry Cask. Our signature CC Classic 12-year-old whiskey finished with a secondary aging in Oloroso Sherry Cask. All the hallmarks of classic Canadian Club with the added richness and sweetness of sherry. Well, talk about hitting the ice in full flight here, Ray Ferraro. We've got Mark Stone, the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, joining us in episode 1 of season 5 of the Ray and Dregs podcast. And Mark, take us back to hoisting that thing. What a beautiful trophy it is. You slept with the Stanley Cup, my understanding, the first night. Probably a short sleep, but best sleep of your night, of your life, based on everything that you poured into it.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, one of the cooler experiences of my life, the best experience of my hockey career. So,
yeah,
just put a smile on my face when I woke up and see it. You never think. You always hope you're going to win it, but you never know if you will. And to be able to take it home that night, I didn't even know that was a thing until Phil told me. Just let him know when you're leaving, and we'll get it for you.
When did you know, as you're going through the series and you get into the last game, when did you start thinking, man, like, this is right here? I can't even imagine how hard it would have been just to think about playing the next shift.
It was pretty hard between periods in the second and third. Being up 6-1, it would take something pretty monumental to lose that one. So it was pretty hard to take the smile off your face and kind of be serious. But even Phil walked in the locker room with a big smile on his face. We hadn't seen him really at all during any of the games. So I just remember him walking in with a smile, and you kind of knew that we were probably going to seal the deal.
Was it all what you thought? Was it as hard as you thought? Was it as satisfying as you thought?
Yeah, I mean, definitely satisfying. And I think obviously some teams go, it's a lot harder. We did it pretty, I shouldn't say easy, but, we never faced elimination. I think that's pretty rare. We did it as smooth, I think, as we could. We didn't really have any injuries. Obviously, Brossoit was kind of our only injury, and, Hill came in and played, just as well. So we were pretty fortunate health-wise, and I think you listen to a lot of the teams, you got to get a little bit of luck for that, and we did.
It doesn't matter what others think outside of the organization, right? But when you're a team that has been built to win the way the Vegas Golden Knights were built to win a Stanley Cup, and, then you don't do it, you come close. I mean, you come real close and you're not able to do it. The naysayers start to develop a little bit. Did you guys hear any of the noise, Mark, even during an off season? Maybe take us back a year or two ago. And you get back into Manitoba and people are saying, I don't know, man, the Vegas Golden Knights, they seem to be going the opposite direction. I mean, did you hear that? And if you heard any of it, how much sweeter is it when you take that Stanley Cup back into Manitoba and you say, look, we did it and it was worth the ride?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember George, after we lost to Montreal, everybody was pretty bummed. And, he said, there's, probably 28 organizations or 27 organizations that would kill to have the success that we've had, and just to stay with it. And then the next year we, come back. We ended up missing the playoffs, but yeah, for sure. The confidence was there. We still kind of laugh going into last season. A lot of teams had us booked to not make the playoffs, and it's kind of funny. You look at our roster; we got some pretty dang good players. So it was a little bit of a motivation, a little bit of a chip. So it worked out well for us to kind of have that.
Last season ends in spectacular fashion, but it was a long year for you. You had surgery, you had to rehab, you had to get yourself back even for the possibility to play. What's harder? Is it the physical stuff or just being away and the mental stuff and wondering, am I really going to get there?
I was pretty confident I was going to get there physically. I obviously had to meet quite a few goals, and I was lucky enough to achieve them. A lot of long hours, but the team was winning. That made it a lot easier. We came out of the break. I think we won 7 or 8 in a row. We started playing our great hockey, so it's a lot more fun going to the rink, watching the game and celebrating with the guys after when we're playing well. So it actually made that a lot easier. Obviously, when the team goes on the road, it can get a little brutal coming to the rink. It's a little groggy, but the spirits were great in the room. I think guys knew that I was pushing to come back. Kind of made me feel a little bit more included. And the year before, when we were kind of on the downward spiral, losing games, it was for sure tough. But this year, the team was playing great, so it gave me that made my mentality a lot better, knowing that if I came back, we were going to be, built to win.
I got to ask you about two guys I think just made. I got to do a lot of your games, of course, as we chat once in a while sitting there, but just watching and just the difference that maybe Bruce Cassidy made taking over, a new coach and a new way, and a healthy Jack Eichel, what those two guys meant to your team, and the way you were able to go about your business.
Yeah, I think Butch's style really blended really well with what we had, right? We had, 7, 8 great defensemen that can play, meaningful minutes for us whenever we need them. We got, unbelievable depth at center. I think we're 4. I'd take our 4 against most 4 in the league, right? And then on the wings, we got guys that can complement those guys. And, I think that was he put in a system that was good for us, right? We got big D-men. It's hard to get to the front of the net. Our best skaters that do most of the work in the D zone are our centermen. So we put, they do most of the work for us, which is, tough on them, but that's the reason why they play where they play. And I think that helped Jack too, right? Jack became one of the, elite two-way forwards. He was always one of the best, offensive guys. But now, he's as all around as most centers or as any great center in the league right now. So, and I think that's only going to benefit us going into this season too.
I got to ask you about the one play there. You block a shot, you break your stick, you grab a stick on the way by the bench, and it ends up in the net. Like, when you watched it, you obviously you see it, it's you doing it, but when you watch it, it's almost remarkable how it all fit together, isn't it?
Yes, it was fortunate. It's like destiny was there, right? I like watching the clip of JW because I blocked a shot and his hand moves right away, like right to the sticks. He knows it's probably broken. I knew it was broken. I kind of played a little bit with the broken stick, and then once it went, I'm one of the guys that feels so useless. I feel like you serve no purpose on the ice without a stick, so you may as well you may as well just go get one. So I was like, I'm going to go get one regardless. And sure enough, I turned back to go into the D zone, and here we come, 3-on-2, and yeah, it just turned out real well for us. Howard made a great play. I'm really really happy that he finished it because it makes for a great clip and a great story.
Well, I'll tell you, your stick would have been easy to pick out there on the bench. You got that.
No kidding.
I don't know, whatever it is at the top of your stick, your knob. I mean, it would have been the easy one to grab, no?
Exactly. I think if my stick breaks, it's the easiest, for 100% the easiest one to find.
Now, did you able to golf at all this summer? I know you used to play a lot and you're real good, but can you play now?
Yeah, I played a few rounds this summer. I was looking forward to playing a lot. Well, not a lot, but like maybe once a week, and I ended up breaking the wrist in the last game there. So kind of derailed me a bit for 6-7 weeks, but I was able to play 4 or 5 times this year and get back out there. Got to play around with my brother and dad for the first time in years, so that was nice.
And is it back? Is your game there still, or no? You got to dig it a bit.
I had a couple good ones, a couple bad ones. So consistency's not there the way I'd like. But as you guys know, if you're not playing, hard to stay consistent.
Hey, I was in Manitoba when you brought the Stanley Cup back home, Mark. Just talk about that experience for you, right? I mean, hanging with your buddies, your family, going back to the rinks that you grew up on, the community that you grew up in, and all that. I mean, as much as it is about celebrating with your teammates and winning something individually and celebrating as an organization, the ability to take it back to the grassroots, I mean, isn't that what it's all about?
Absolutely. I said it is a long day. You're jamming a lot of stuff in there, but it goes by way too fast. You'd kill to have 3 or 4 days and do more with it and actually try and maybe get a little bit of downtime. But it was awesome. I got to see so many people that either like I've said before, followed my career, had an impact on my career, or just are huge hockey fans that love this game. And the Stanley Cup does weird things to people, gets people giddy. So it's awesome to kind of see their faces when they get to see it and see some of the names on it. It's a special day, no doubt about it.
Now, I'm not sure. I guess I should know this, but I don't. Are your names already engraved on it?
They are, yeah. I guess it's a pretty rare thing to do, but we were able to get ours on before it started. So that was pretty. What
does that look like?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess most of the time you see it at the ring dinners the first time, probably before your home openers, when you normally get to see your name on it, but you don't get to show, mom, dad, friends and family. They don't get to see that. So for them to be able to see that was pretty sweet.
So do you have much info on when you guys get to do your ring dinner, when you get to what the banner unveiling is going to be? It'll be on opening night, of course, but do you guys know that yet?
No, I mean, I think we've come to learn everything's going to be done right here, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be awesome regardless. So we like to keep a little bit of a secret. We know where the dinner is. Obviously, I think we're going to have a nice dinner. I'm sure Bill will make sure that everything's all dialed in for us real nice. So it's going to be pretty awesome. We can't wait, especially training camps can be long and grueling. That's going to be a pretty nice cherry at the end of the week.
How hard do you think this season is going to be, Mark? I mean, in so many different ways, right? Because anybody who's won the Stanley Cup, most people would say, yeah, winning it was crazy hard. It was incredibly difficult, but then you have to defend and everybody's out to get you. So look, you've never backed away from a challenge, so I'm pretty sure that that's going to fuel you and you're motivated by that. But how difficult do you think it'll be?
Yeah, I do. I think early on it could be difficult, but we're returning, I think 19 guys, so I think we're going to be able to rely on our chemistry a little bit too, right? We know each other real well. We know we can do it together, so you can kind of rely on that kind of depth chemistry that we have. But we're motivated too. I've used this example in the past. I mean, Alec Martinez went through one of the craziest years I've ever seen. He probably could have just retired, hung up his skates, gone off into the sunset with his 2 Stanley Cups. But it's addicting. It's addicting to do what we do. It's addicting to try and win. So, and I felt that. I feel that now. Going through the surgeries I went through. It's not easy, but I feel the exact same emotions that he felt. I just want to keep playing this game and fight to try and do it again.
How do you, the last one for me really, Mark, is like, how do you at the stage of your career, how do you keep yourself engaged, like to be better, to get, to get to a next little phase that helps you combat the young guys coming behind you, or the way the game's changes? Do you have something internally you go, I got to work on this, or I want to work on a specific thing?
Me personally, it's all about maintaining the endurance, right?
Right.
Always trying to get a little step, trying to get a little quicker. I know it's hard at this age, harder to do, but for me personally, I play a pretty unique game. I love when new players come in, get to sneak up on them a bit. So, but it is different, right? I mean, I'm not throwing weights around like I used to.
Right.
Now it's more, maintenance, keeping up with the quickness, trying to stay a little bit explosive. Because if I could even like try and gain a step at this age, it could probably help prolong my career. So I'll always continue to try and do that.
Hey, actually, I lied. I got one more. I was trying to think of a way to ask, but I'm like, one of my favorite things, Mark, is when they've got the cameras on you guys when you're coming in. How long does it take you to put your game look together? Because it looks like about 42 seconds. And I ran a piece last year. I'm like, this is one of my favorite things, because you're so dialed in as a player, but you're like, hair's all over, tie's never done up. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I have a shower before I go get dressed, so I usually get the hair in a better spot before I head into the loft and get ready. So, but the music's so loud you can't talk to anyone, so I'm just kind of sitting there.
I just love it. I love it. You're walking down the hallway.
So good.
And you're like, it's just like, he's fine. He's ready to go. I love it. So good.
All right, Mark, we'll leave you this. We partner with Got Your Back and Rub Media this year. And the premise, one of the cool things that Ryan Rashog and the group does there is when they have athletes or guests on the podcast, they ask for somebody who along the way had your back, right? And we all have that story or stories. Is there anyone, or maybe it was a team or a coaching staff or a friend or somebody along the way that you really deeply believe had your back? And that's part of the reason anyway. You're a Stanley Cup champion and you are where you're at.
That's a good question. I guess off the top of my head, ironically, when I got drafted, I probably was borderline going to get picked. And a guy who really fought for me was Bob Lowe's, who ironically is with us here now in Vegas. Yeah. He really fought for me to get drafted, for one, to be given a chance to be a pro. He really was the guy who kind of put his neck out there for me to get Ottawa to, I guess use, I guess, I don't even know what the word is, but use like all their resources to try and help me. And I owe a lot to him to help me get here.
Awesome stuff. Well, thanks for doing this, Mark. We know it's busy. Training camp's underway. The preseason is underway. Best of luck in trying to defend a terrific trophy, the Stanley Cup.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good luck, Mark. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, cheers to Mark Stone, captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, for joining us in episode 1. Coming soon, CC's 15-year-old Sherry Cask, the first release of the Canadian Club Invitation Series, on the shelf right in mid-October, and we haven't even had a sampling. You remember the Chronicle series and the 41, the 42, and 43, the 44, and the 45.
I got to tell you, Dregs, Cammy's been away for 10 days. I will say a couple of nights last week, sampled just a bit. Oh,
just nice. A little sniff.
It was nice.
Good for
Loved
you.
It.
I am intrigued by the 15-year-old sherry cask. I'm not going to lie. So thanks again to Canadian Club Whiskey. Ask Ray and Dregs anything. You can fire your questions to us on Twitter and Instagram at Ray and Dregs, or on the website, rayanddregs.com. We flushed all of last year's, Ray. Hundreds of unanswered questions, and I felt shame.
We got to get better. We got to do better than that this year.
Yeah,
Dregs.
we do.
Don't you think?
Yep. We do. But we're going to start a little light. This is episode 1. It's okay.
Yeah,
we've got episode 2 later this week, so we'll have a few more questions, but we'll get to a few right here. We'll start with Kelvin. Take us through your best golf stories from the summer. Maybe it was a great shot, a great round, a great moment, and also the funniest thing that happened on the golf course for each of you this season.
Well, I'm going to start with, I went to Cabot Links with 15 other guys this year.
How good is that?
Great place. And so we have different tournaments set up every day. And we get to the last tournament. It's a 54-hole tournament, and I've got $0 for the week. I'm in last place, which is embarrassing and
also never happens. I'm going to pump your tires because you're normally the guy that is nibbling, right?
I get enough shots that I'm a good partner. Anyway, I get 0. So the guy behind me, who's a +1 handicap, this guy's good. Somehow he had a couple of ties in this thing. He's got $83. He's drafting second. So for the first time it's been a dozen years these trips have been going on, I had the first pick in the draft. And because I didn't want to go home potentially with $0, I traded the first pick for $200. And so I moved up. I moved to the second pick. I let the guy behind me take the first pick. I picked second. We won. And so I said to the guy that went first, I said, sometimes you're a GM, man. You got to make tough decisions. Sorry about that.
Tough calls.
I moved past him and we won. And so that was awesome. As far as something funny, well, there's always
lots of funny moments.
Yeah. I would say nothing is more amusing than watching somebody with their third crack getting out of the bunker, and it looks like they got a shovel in there. There's sand flying all over. I just love that stuff. And it happened on the trip, and we were rolling. It was because the guy was good. He just couldn't get out of the trap. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of experiences. I didn't play a lot this year. I was just too busy with fishing and entertaining people and all of that. I probably, by a scoring mark, had one of my worst years ever. Like, I just shot 81 at Royal Ashburn this past Friday. Was my best score of the year. Normally, I'll scrape it around. I'll get into the high 70s a couple of times. Didn't do that. So I played pretty well on Friday. I was happy about that. But one of my favorite moments of the year, one of the guys I'm playing with is a good buddy by the name of Derek. And par 5, he's way to the right, and he's probably 80, 90 yards from the hole, hitting his 4th shot on a par 5. So you can tell which way this is going. And it's a kind of difficult par 5. It's the 3rd hole at Royal Ashburn. So he's on the right side, so he's got to get over a bunker. It's like a front middle pin, not the craziest hard, but he's got to fly a bunker just to get on in 4. Jars it for birdie.
Oh, jars it. Coming.
Just boo-boo in the hole. So, I mean, that made me chuckle a little bit. And then at the Cabbage, we've got the executive par 3, an 18-hole course, which is mere minutes from my place. Played with my neighbor, Dougie. Hole in one, 13th hole. Oh. Hole in one. It was a short little hole, like 117 yards, something like that. He hits and he hits every shot like this. So I'm going to say a low hook, which is hard to do on a par 3.
How are you doing that?
But he hits the same shot every hole. And the guy, okay, so he gets the hole-in-one, his 10th hole-in-one.
Oh.
10th!
Have you had one?
No.
I've
Actually,
got one.
I have, but I hesitate because I had one on a par 3 course years ago. It was
that still counts.
Skydome. Does it? I don't know that it counts.
How far was it? 100 yards?
Yeah, it was like 110 yards. Something.
Yes, it counts. It went in the hole.
Right.
It's a hole-in-one.
Okay, so it just doesn't feel.
Don't
right,
hold your breath waiting for another one. Say you got one.
Okay, I will. All right, let's get on to some good stuff here and ask Ray and Dregs anything. Not that wasn't good. That was good. No. From Stephen in Libertyville, Illinois. Do you think it helps teams, Ray, who go away for training camp? Meaning you're not just at the practice facility or the main rink. You get out of the city. You get away from your families. You bond together. You build relationships. Might be great for the single guys and for the young guys, but is it great for the family guys? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I loved going away for camp.
Okay.
I didn't want to be away for 2 weeks because the season's long and you travel enough, but to go away for 4 or 5 days, I loved it. And I think most players do like it. Mm-hmm. You know who doesn't like it? The trainers.
Yeah.
Is because those poor guys got a long year in front of them and they got to pack up, 55 guys worth of equipment and all the extra junk that they got to get there. It's a lot of work, which is probably why teams don't do it as much as they used to.
I should have asked this maybe right out of the gate and asked Ray and Dregs anything because it kind of takes us back to our headline segment. But this comes from Greg in Alberta. Do you think Julien BriseBois, the general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning, is wise not to overcommit to Stamkos before he knows what he's capable of? I mean, 22-point regression over the past couple of seasons. So Greg is asking, what if there's another 15-point drop here? He is turning 34 this year. So I guess to summarize, the business side does take over the human side occasionally before they find that comfort zone, that happy place, the middle ground.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, you don't want to overcommit. I mean, nobody wants to do that, but we don't even know what the ask is from the Stamkos camp. If he's asking for 6 years, I'd say forget it. It's too long. Yeah. But I don't have his stats off the top of my head, Dregs, but I mean, he had 30 goals again last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
35 goals.
Numbers weren't bad. No.
Is he going to go to 12 goals? No chance. The other part is that you got to be careful with Tampa is that they're still in the win now. That will determine a little bit of your commitment to your older players as well. I mean, look at Pittsburgh. They've got, the core of their teams in their mid-30s and they go get Erik Karlsson. That to me made sense only because you're trying to win while Malk and Crosby and Letang are still really great players. That doesn't work on a building team for me. So, I wouldn't want to overcommit, but I think one of the toughest battles a GM fights with star players all the time is reality versus loyalty. Mm-hmm. And you can get burned on the loyalty side either way. If you show none, you get beaten up pretty good. And if you show too much, you end up with a player that can't do what you need him to do towards the last couple of years of his contract.
Just quick follow-up, and then we'll wrap up here. I know you were intrigued by the Pittsburgh Penguins a year ago, right, going into the season. Maybe they've just got enough juice left there. So you bring it up. I mean, maybe should have touched on it in headlines, but they add Erik Karlsson, other pieces to the mix. Are you more intrigued this year going in, or you just think that even though they've added Karlsson, Norris Trophy winner, and they'll add other pieces, they're just probably not there anymore?
Well, I think they're a playoff team for sure. Just think of last year. They missed the playoffs because they couldn't beat Columbus and Chicago on the last weekend of the season. How did that even happen?
I know.
That's crazy. I think Letang has a better year because he's able to do less because of Karlsson. Karlsson's not going to get 100 points, I don't think, but man, he's going to fit. That power play becomes way better. They made a lot of change to the bottom half of their roster. They're going to be faster, which Mike Sullivan wants to be and likes to play that way. It might all come down to what Tristan Jarry can do in goal for them, because he had a pretty spotty year last year. Injury wise, again, they need him to be really good. I think he can be, and Pittsburgh does. They intrigue me for sure.
Excellent. All right, buddy. What's the rest of your week look like? I know you're prepping hard for episode 2, but aside from that, what's the rest of the week look like?
You know what? I'd like to still play some golf, but I'm going to need an arc this week out here. We have
raining.
and we're getting what do they call that thing? The atmospheric river which basically is a really scientific way of saying you're going to get a hell of a lot of rain, which is what we're getting this week. So got some stuff to do, but I'm not going to get out and play. Maybe Thursday, but I'll be ready to go for episode 2, Dregs. How about you?
Yeah. You know what? Insider trading, we've got that wheel turning. Very slow with training camp. A lot of focus on, the contracts and things like that.
Oh, but that'll spin a little quicker as it gets closer to the end of camp, won't it?
Correct. Yeah. And, preseason is underway in the National Hockey League, but actually got a couple of Leaf games coming up Friday and Saturday. So lots going on.
I don't know if you've heard, Austin Matthews is going to kill penalties this year. You may have heard
Apparently
that.
so. Yes. And John Klingberg is a quarterback of the power play. Yeah,
I have heard those 2 breaking stories. Yes. Yeah. Well, get on that, would you?
I will, buddy. All right. Well done, as always. And we'll check in again with you later this week.
You bet. Have a good one, Dregs. We'll talk to you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs here in Season 5 and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. And welcome aboard, Tim Hortons. As always, thank you to you for listening, rating, sharing the podcast, and for following us on the Ray and Dregs YouTube channel as well. Until next time, stay safe, everyone.